Being an athlete opens a person up to a world of money that the average person can only actually dream of. While we think about things like what to eat and how to pay rent, most F1 drivers are thinking about the next luxury car they want to add to their collection. And with the 2023 season just starting and the standings already looking quite interesting, it makes sense you're curious as to how much they earn. Well, stick with us to the end of this video and you'll find out. Logan Sargent. Being his rookie season, Logan is one of the lowest paid drivers with an annual salary of $1 million. He does have the potential to increase his earnings as he progresses, but for now he has to make do with that. Despite scoring no points in Bahrain, we still expect more from the American driver. After all, entering into the Formula One lineup in the first place is no small feat. Yuki Tsunoda. Lined up next to Sargent is the Japanese AlphaTauri driver, who's pretty new to the sport as well, having joined in 2021. His $1 million salary for this season might seem little compared to other drivers on the grid, but it's an improvement from his last year's pay, excluding bonuses and ads. Zhou Guanyu. With a take-home salary of just over $2 million, the first Chinese national to grace Formula One is still one of the lowest earners in the lineup. The Alfa Romeo driver hasn't really set himself apart from the rest of the competitors since he came in 2022, but there is ample space for him to thrive and hopefully prove his worth on the tracks. Nick De Vries. Tsunoda's team partner apparently earns more than he does, but not by much. While the Japanese driver earns just over $1 million, De Vries earns $2 million. Turns out that the AlphaTauri budget is nothing to write home about, and hopefully the drivers have enough sponsorships to boost their income. Lance Stroll. For a midfield team, Aston Martin's Lance Stroll was substantially outperformed by his teammate last season. Little wonder his salary is amongst the lowest on the grid. However, with a 6th position at Bahrain, better performance is expected this season, and with improved performance, his $2 million salary would potentially increase in the future. Nico Hülkenberg. Nico Hülkenberg might have been in Formula One for quite some time now, but he'll only be earning a $2 million salary this season. The German driver has been driving on F1 tracks since 2009 under multiple teams, but he's had to toggle driving as an official driver and a reserve driver during this period. In fact, in the last 2 seasons, he didn't have an official contract with an F1 team, hence he drove as a reserve driver. Oscar Piastri. With Formula One, experience and performance equal a higher paycheck. Unfortunately, this isn't the case with young Piastri, as this is his official debut season competing as a Formula One driver. Therefore, Piastri is only going to be taking home a $2 million check as his annual salary. Alexander Albon. Albon cannot be classified as a rookie, but he'll be taking home just $3 million home as his main salary. Why though? Well, his team's budget is the first factor that comes into play, then his performance hasn't been so encouraging. Not that he's to blame though, Williams hasn't really been competitive in a long time and they mainly sit at the back of the grid. However, we've just got to acknowledge the feat Albon pulled at the Australian Grand Prix last year. He legit drove on one set of tyres for the entire race and only switched to obey the regulations. Pretty impressive. Pierre Gasly. We're slowly getting to the real ballers. Alpine is paying Pierre $5 million this year, and this is a justifiable salary considering he's been a fairly competitive driver in Formula One for almost 6 years now. Fernando Alonso. Alonso is the other half of the Aston Martin team, and while you would expect him to be higher up on this list, considering he has 2 championships, he's taking home only $5 million this year. We need to watch out for him this season though. It's unlikely anyone is going to break the Verstappen monopoly at the top, but he made it to the podium despite racing with a midfield team. At the end of the season, we'd be able to tell if it was a fluke or if Aston Martin is ready to compete with the top teams. Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen has driven for several brands including McLaren, Renault and Haas, and his multi-year deal with the latter has earned him the providence of taking home a $5 million salary this year. He comes from a racing family, so it's no wonder he knows how to negotiate good fees for himself. Well, in truth, he kind of deserves it too. The Danish driver took a 1-year break from the sport after being replaced by Nikita Mazepin, but his performance in the 2022 season bore no such indication. In fact, he outperformed his teammate Mick Schumacher and pushed him to improve his output. Esteban Ocon. The French driver is with Alpine on a 3-year contract ending in 2024, and this earns him around $6 million yearly. This year is no different, but things are off to a rough start for him considering he didn't finish the first race of the season. George Russell. George is one half of the Mercedes team, and obviously the lion's share of the team budget goes to Hamilton. He does quite well for himself though, he even finished above Hamilton in the standings last year. This year, Mercedes is giving him a total of $8 million. Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri Bottas is definitely one of the most challenging drivers on the field, and it's because of this that Alfa Romeo is giving him $10 million this season. Looking at his track record, he has proven to be a worthy competitor, and last season's standings are solid proof. Out of Alfa Romeo's total 55 points for last season, Bottas brought in 49 of them, with Joe supplementing just 6. Sergio Perez. Red Bull has one of the largest budgets in Formula 1, so it's not surprising that they pay their drivers as much as they do. Sergio Perez is a talented driver in his own right, so it makes sense that Red Bull is throwing $10 million his way this season. Plus, he won them the Constructors' Championship alongside Verstappen and was 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari driver signed a 2-year extension of his contract with the brand last season, and he negotiated for himself quite a lot of money. The Spaniard is taking with him over $12 million this season. Lando Norris. After finishing 7th last season for McLaren, Norris was able to get himself a $20 million deal this season. Talk about an excellent bargain. He's off to a rough start though. He earned 0 points in the first race of the season after finishing last. However, the season is just starting. It's still too soon to judge. Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is definitely one of the top drivers on the track. It's no surprise that Ferrari is paying their driver a whopping $24 million. His performance last season was incredible, and it was a fierce competition between him and Verstappen before he kicked out of the lead for the championship. Fingers crossed though for what he has in store for us this season. Lewis Hamilton. This name needs no introduction. He's definitely the most recognizable face in Formula 1, and his employers know it. That's probably why they're giving him $35 million this year, minus bonuses, despite his uncharacteristically mediocre performance last year. Max Verstappen. With an annual earning of $55 million, this man is going to be the highest earning driver in Formula 1 this year. And if he clinches the title, he'll get at least another $15 million. Verstappen has proven that he's worthy of the throne after defending his championship last season, and with a strong start this season, we might be looking at another championship for the Dutch driver. And there you have it, the salaries of 2023 F1 drivers. Which driver would you tag as undercompensated or overcompensated? Let us know in the comments down below.